first thing I did was roll that little hub. It's right in the center. And all I did, it was a little strip. And I put it in that little quilling tool. It has a slot, and rolled it around, made it into a cylinder, and then carefully glued it together. Rolled it around that to make sure it's nice and round. Even sanded where the paper kind of links together. And then I cut out the hub face and the back plate and put them on. So a nice trick here, it goes inside of this piece. So it's hard to get it in there. What I do is I put some glue on there, so it's a nice bit of gloppy glue, and then I set that prop hub like that with the glue facing down. Now I take my, in this case, my the prop face, and I put it in there, and then take an instrument like the end of a brush and just push down very carefully. And what it'll do, if you push down onto the table, it'll even itself out and it'll be perfectly flat. Now in this case I got a lot of glue, so there's a glue smooch on there, but get rid of that and you're fine. Makes it really easy. Then you put on the back side, which is a little harder because you don't have the ability to come from the other side, but you just stick it in there flat and dries nice and solid, and you got a beautiful hub ready to put the blades on. And the blades will fit on just like that. Now they're supposed to, I think, fit on just sort of flat against the, but I don't do that. I put them at a 45-degree angle. So I put in the center, this wasn't called for in the model, little piece of 1/32 balsa that I sanded the edges to make them very, very thin, so it's shaped like a propeller blade. It's got airfoil on it essentially. And I will very carefully put it in there, put some my white glue, smear it onto the surface, and then I very carefully put it onto the paper blade, making sure to line everything up. And you'll notice the balsa is considerably smaller than the paper. That's because I want it to I want the paper to roll around and reach around and not have any gaps. I just want that balsa to be nice and give it some form and structure. So you put a little bit of glue on the other side, and then you just match it up very carefully. Gently start it, and then just make sure it matches. And then you use your gross gluey fingers to remove everything, to just squeeze the edges and make sure that there's very little white showing. I use the tweezers like usual to squeeze things shut, and a marker to help get rid of some of the more glaring problems. But you end up with these prop blades that look really good and are strong. Now, you're going to put it at a 45-degree angle to the oncoming wind, assuming the propeller is turning the correct direction. But all I did was put some super glue on the end and just put this thing directly on the hub at a 45-degree angle, and make sure that I have it correctly oriented, and just my eye put it at a 45 and make sure that it's horizontal with the other blade that I already put on there. And so right now that's pointing, and the blade looks kind of funny. It's at a 45-degree angle. But what you're going to do once this is dry is twist the blade. So make sure it's straight, make sure it's where it's supposed to be. A little bit of kicker in there to make sure it's nice and dry. Now I take my fingers and I literally twist. See, I'm twisting my fingers, rolling them to the right. I'm trying to get that prop blade, the edge of it, to look relatively horizontal, so that you got a 45 at the hub, and then it curls around like a real helix, like a real propeller. I also go from the back side and roll it a little bit on a round surface. Again, another little paintbrush handle, and just trying to get that to look like a propeller. And there's some parts I got to cut little edge pieces off to make it look a little cleaner. That's no problem, because you can either repaint the whole hub, or in my case, I just hit it with a little black Sharpie and it essentially disappears. Now put a little drop of glue on the back hub and just put that little guy directly onto my waiting engine. You just got to be careful, make sure you put it on nice and even and straight. Now you could put a little piece of plastic or something, a little extension. I didn't bother because it was close enough and looked neat. But you can see there it is dried, and the motor still spins partially. Looks pretty cool. Very nice. Couldn't believe this all turned out as well as it did.